Hello, I'm Iman Tavakoli with the Asset Training for Blender software. Welcome. In this session, I want to teach you the complete workspace environment and parts of the mesh, as well as the changes we make to the mesh. Show you how to do that. Well, we talked about the layout section in previous sessions, or layout. Now let's move on to modeling, or actually from the edit mode section. When you're on the object, you can use the tab key. You can switch this so that you enter the modeling section, meaning even if you're in the layout section, when you press tab, it goes into edit mode or the same modeling section in the modeling workspace. This section is for when you want to modify the mesh or change the state of your object so you can work on it. This part is used when you want to make changes to the faces or do your own modeling. Okay, I'll press Ctrl+Z to go back to object mode. Now, before we go into the sculpting section, I'll add a multi-resolution modifier to my model and subdivide it once. I set my view axis to 3 so it looks like a sphere or a circle. In this section, for those who want to start character creation or shaping like sculpting, if you have a graphics tablet, it will be much easier for you. You need to work with it to create a character. We will get to its dedicated section where we will precisely see how we can create a specific character or a detailed form within the system. Okay? I'll create a new file again, so I don't forget my mode. Actually, in this section, I told you that UV editing is when you want to see your entire object unwrapped or completely. Look, keep in mind that whatever object you have here, it gives you the UV. It shows you the UV map. So if I have 2 objects or even 10, it will display them here for me. The first section here is actually the vertices, which you can display. The second is the edges, and the third is its faces. So if you select its face and place it in the texture paint section, when you create it, it shows you a purple color. This purple color means your work has no color, okay? Now, for example, I go to the material section, assign it a material, and here I select the base color image texture. I click on new and say, give me a new image. It created a black color for me. Now, if I want to change the color, for example, I come here, pick a color and paint it. So why isn't it showing here? Why hasn't it appeared? Because I need to come here and select my material in this section. It shows here, see, whatever color I use here or there, it applies to this man. It applies to this man. Okay, there are different modes for mixing, blending, or generally coloring your material. It gave it a white color. Did you see that? And you use this for when you want to color your work or create a texture. You can do it from this section. The shader is essentially where you meticulously create a vibrant color for your material, or perhaps you might choose to bring in a detailed texture for it. For example, let me now bring in a couple of distinct and interesting textures. I'll delete this one. I'll add a default texture for it. I'll show you how to create a texture in the shading section. See, you've created a texture for your work and you can apply it. In the shading section, lighting doesn't really have any effect. It gives you a default light if you want to see your lighting. You need to be in the rendering section where you want the background to be rendered or set up. For example, if I turn off the light, you see no other light is created here. The animation section is where you animate your work, set keyframes, and create movement. For example, I make my material a bit smaller and press G. I create a movement. Okay. First, I will carefully turn on the keyframe tick, Then I will begin moving with G, proceeding forward, and subsequently create the next precise movement. I'm saying let it be up to here. The camera shows me whether your subject is going out of frame or not. This is the place where it shows you the camera angle. The start is where your work begins. For example, right now up to 50. I set my ending at 50. It shows me from this part to this part, so if I play it, it loops back. Guys, the play shortcut key is just like in all other sections. It's the space bar. Okay, here it shows me and moves, which is our keyframe section and rendering. This is where you take a render from your work, which says render image or render animation. For example, let's say I took a render. You see, it rendered it for me here. Now I want to change the keyframe a bit. I move myself, and in this section, I bring the slider to frame 2 and take another render. Okay, here. With the J key, it shows me both of my renders together. You see, when I press it here, it appears. Previous render, next render, okay? Here is where it shows me my renders before and after, and it works. The compositing section is where you can view your work in a formatted way. The topic of compositing is very detailed, so let's leave it for now. When we're working or doing a project at its own time, I'll explain it to you fully in the geometry node section. This is where you can modify your work. In other words, you can see the objects you've assigned and create a new format. For example, this is just an example. If I delete the cube here, I add a plane, click on New, and delete the geometry node. I press Shift+A and add a cube to it. And I connect it to the geometry output. So my plane, that is my surface, was turned into a cube. Now, if I select these 3 vertices as well, if I tell it to create 10 loop cuts for me, that is, to create 10 cubes with a spacing of 2, 2, 2, well, it also made them bigger. You can see that it turned each part of my face into 10, and for me, it created cubes with dimensions of 2 by 2 by 2 millimeters, which is what geometry nodes does. In the sculpting section, it's where you write code. You write code with Python and execute it on it. Of course, for this part, you need to know how to code and work with it. What's the benefit of this? You create your own workspace or work area, and I always want that to be saved in the workspace. So I come here, click on duplicate, and change its name. Iman. I click on it, okay. I say, let it come to the top of the list so that it's always safe, so I do that. In the default section, I click save, and I always have it, no matter how many times I open or close Blender. This part stays for me and gets created. Okay, and whenever I don't want it anymore, I just click delete. Now, let's move on to working with meshes and see how meshes work. First, what is a mesh? It's a combination of vertices, edges, and faces which are combined together, and we call it mesh data. So what is a mesh? It's the information we have from these meshes and the shape that is created, which tells us the data. So if I make a change to it, does the mesh data also change? Yes, the information we have is called mesh data. In the first section, vertex, edge, face, the keys for this part, we call them 1, 2, 3. The keys come in, so when I press 1, 2, or 3, it changes the mode for me and works. Now, for example, let me show you. If I press 1, it goes to vertex mode. If I close this, if I press 2, it goes to edge mode. If I press 3, it goes to Actually, it's the face, which I can move around. I come into the object mode section. If I press the add shortcut or Shift+A, I can create a mesh. For example, I come and create a cylinder. Do you see a cylinder? Okay, here in the collection section, it has created each one separately for me. You see? Now I delete this, then I go into edit mode or modeling. Okay, if I press Shift+A, I should create a torus. You see, it has created it inside the same cube for me, and it's not separate. How can I separate these two when I'm in edit mode or modeling, or separate any object? I want to have them separately. So first I go into wireframe mode, select all of this, and press the P key. You see it's separated now. Why does it have that name? Because it took it from the cube section, so it still has the old name. Now again I go into its name. This material, I select this one. Press P, select it, and this one is separated too. As you can see, this one is separated. This is one object, this is another object, and this one is also an object. So keep that in mind. Alright guys, let me mention something about the light and the camera. Actually, these parts, they don't have modeling, meaning they're not like meshes where you want to have mesh data or want to change their mode. No, they just have their own settings. In fact, they don't have edit mode, and they're just sections that have a few small settings. Let me go ahead and create a new plane again. Alright, okay. If I go into the modeling section and want to join these two together, since they're two separate objects, that won't happen. So what should I do? In object mode, I need to select both of them. You see, I press G, nothing happens, meaning when I press G, nothing happens. If I select all of it, and even if I press J, I still can't connect this part together. To do this particular task, I will select these two distinct objects. Okay, I will then press the keyboard shortcut Ctrl+J, and subsequently I will press F. Do you observe? You'll notice that none of them actually get joined together. For this specific scenario, if your intention is to effectively join two individual vertices together, you need to be in the Edit Modeling section or in Edit mode. Okay, then I will carefully select these two specific items by holding down the Shift key. Okay, when I then press the Ctrl+J key combination, at least I will know that my current selection is absolutely complete. Then I will press the F key. Did you clearly see that? It successfully merged into one single object. I'll say it again. I just selected and I don't even press Ctrl+J. I will select this particular object and this one as well, or I might even add this additional one too. Now, when I proceed to press F, does it effectively join them here? With this method, can you successfully join your various meshes? Let's move on to another point. Let me open a new page again. Hold on. No, let me just delete this one. Okay, I'll create a cube with Shift+A. In object mode, to make a copy, it's Shift+D, right? Shift+D. Can you make a copy of this now? Let me just go ahead and create another brand new mesh. If you'll excuse me for a moment, please hold on just a second. I select this one. I selected it here so it doesn't overlap with that other shape. Alt. I press these are selected, I press Alt+D. This one is copied too. Now what's the difference? Do you see? Are these separate? Now I go into edit mode. aren't these two separate? When I go into edit mode, I can, for example, select the vertex and make any changes I want. I select this one. I will now go into edit mode again, and then I will proceed to change this one. Or alternatively, I can press the number 2 key and change its specific edge, right? Now let us observe what precisely happens with Alt+D. For when you've made your copy with Alt+D, I've selected this and I press Tab. I will now go into the edit mode, okay? So I will carefully grab this particular edge, right? If I press G, the same thing happens to that one too. When you press Shift, it makes a copy for you where each one works separately, but when you press Alt, it makes a copy, but any change you make to one object will also be applied to the others you created. That's the mirroring effect that happens and gets applied. Okay? So we saw that by working with each part, we can change the mode of this section and work with it. Okay, now for example, I come and select the face. Okay, let's go a bit further. If I press E, look, it enlarges it for me in the face section or by clicking. If I right click, I can select the face option or actually select extrude face. Here I can enlarge it. If I press I, it insets, or I can click. If I right click and press inset face, I can inset it, and with E, I can move it. Okay, this way, you can gradually start pulling out your faces with I and E. Okay, again, after pressing E, I can also press Z. So it moves for me along the same axis. Or for example, I come here and press I. Okay, E. Did you see? Well, this session got pretty long. We both explained things and got into the details. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. If you're new to my channel, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. Goodbye.